The first time they called me a murderer, I was standing in line buying bread. A woman near the register recognized my face from the evening news. Her basket slipped from her hands, and oranges rolled across the floor. By the time I looked up, 2 officers were already pushing to the doors of the bakery in downtown Copenhagen. One of them grabbed my arm, so hard I dropped my wallet. "Freja Lindholm," he said, "you are under arrest for the murder of Erik Vestergaard." And just like that, my entire life collapsed between the bread shelves and the sound of terrified strangers whispering my name. What nobody knew then, what even I didn't know yet, was that the man accusing me had already destroyed 3 lives before mine, and the courtroom that was supposed to bury me would eventually expose all of them. My name is Freja Lindholm. I was 34 years old when I became the most hated woman in Denmark. Before everything happened, my life was painfully ordinary. I worked as a financial compliance officer for a shipping corporation in Copenhagen called Nordstransit. I lived alone in a small apartment overlooking the harbor. My biggest concern was whether my mother would ever forgive me for missing Christmas 2 years in a row. Then Erik Vestergaard died. Erik was a senior executive at Nordstransit. Charming, wealthy, connected. The kind of man politicians shook hands with at charity galas while secretly fearing him behind closed doors. 3 weeks before his death, I filed an internal complaint against him. I had discovered unauthorized offshore transactions linked to shell companies in Latvia and Cyprus. Millions of kroner were disappearing from company accounts. When I confronted Erik privately, he smiled at me like I was a child. "You're ambitious," he told me. "That can be dangerous." I should have walked away then. Instead, I copied files onto a private drive and prepared a report for internal investigators. Erik was found dead before I could submit it. He was discovered in his waterfront penthouse with a fractured skull and signs of a violent struggle. The media exploded overnight. By morning, every station in Denmark was running the same headline: "Compliance officer linked to executive's murder." The police claimed my fingerprints were in his apartment. They said neighbors heard us arguing the night he died. Worst of all, they found my scarf beside the body. I tried explaining that I had visited him earlier that week for work-related documents, but nobody cared. Public opinion turned instantly. Online forums called me a gold digger, a jealous lover, a psychopath. Then prosecutors revealed a supposed motive. According to them, Erik planned to expose me for financial fraud inside the company, and I killed him before he could. It was perfect, clean, convincing, completely false. The only person who believed me was my lawyer. His name was Jonas Mikkelsen. Jonas wasn't famous. He wasn't flashy either. He looked perpetually exhausted, like a man who slept in his office and survived entirely on black coffee and nicotine gum. The first thing he said to me inside the detention center was, "You're hiding something." I nearly broke down right there. "Not murder," I whispered. He studied me quietly. "I know," he replied. That answer changed everything. The prosecution's case looked devastating at first. They had fingerprints in Erik's apartment witness testimony, placing me near the building financial documents, supposedly linking me to stolen company money security footage showing someone in my coat entering the penthouse hours before the murder. The media called it an open and shut case. But Jonas noticed something nobody else did. The timestamps didn't align. One surveillance clip from the lobby showed me entering at 9:14 p.m. Another camera supposedly captured me leaving at 9:26 p.m. But Erik's estimated time of death was around 10:15. That alone wasn't enough to save me. Then Jonas found something stranger. The lobby footage had missing metadata. Tiny fragments of corrupted encoding. Signs of video had been exported and reprocessed. Someone had manipulated evidence. When Jonas brought this up in preliminary hearings, prosecutors dismissed it as technical error, but he refused to stop digging. The deeper Jonas investigated Nordstransit, the darker everything became. A former accountant disappeared 2 years earlier after threatening to expose internal corruption. Another executive had died in what police ruled a suicide. Both cases somehow connected back to Erik Vestergaard. Jonas hired a digital forensics expert named Mila Novak to analyze the financial files prosecutors used against me. That was when the first crack appeared. The transfer authorizations carried my digital signature, but they were executed from a server in Estonia while I was physically attending a compliance conference in Oslo. Somebody cloned my credentials. The courtroom atmosphere changed immediately after that revelation. For the first time, prosecutors looked nervous. But the real explosion came 3 days later. Jonas requested access to Eric's private phone records. The prosecution fought viciously to block it. That alone terrified me. Why would they care so much? Then the judge approved the request. And suddenly, everything unraveled. Eric had exchanged dozens of encrypted calls with a member of Denmark's Economic Crimes Unit, a senior investigator named Henrik Falk, the same investigator supervising my case. Jonas dug deeper. Bank records revealed Henrik received unexplained payments through intermediary consulting firms connected to Nord's Transit. Hundreds of thousands of kroner. Bribes. The courtroom fell silent when Jonas displayed the transfers on the screen. I still remember Henrik's face. He didn't look angry. He looked afraid. Then came the testimony that shattered the entire case. A hotel receptionist from Malmö, Sweden, contacted Jonas after seeing media coverage. She claimed Eric had met secretly with another woman days before his death, a woman wearing my coat. At first, nobody believed her. Then Jonas obtained hotel security footage. The woman looked almost exactly like me from a distance. Same height, same hair color, same clothing. But when the footage was enhanced, one detail stood out. A small scar above her left eyebrow. I didn't have one. The woman was eventually identified as Sophia Berg, a dismissed contractor with ties to Henrik Falk. Police tracked her to a remote cabin outside Aarhus. She was dead before they arrived. Official cause, overdose. But nobody believed that anymore. Not after what came next. 2 days before closing arguments, Jonas visited me in a courthouse holding room. He looked pale, shaken. "There's something bigger happening," he said quietly. He handed me a folder. Inside were leaked company emails from Nord's Transit executives. The company had been laundering money through shipping routes for years, millions flowing through fake logistics contracts tied to Eastern European crime networks. Eric wasn't exposing corruption. He was running it. And when internal pressure grew dangerous, someone needed a scapegoat. Me. But Eric had apparently started cooperating with authorities, secretly, likely trying to protect himself. That made him expendable. Jonas believed Henrik Falk helped orchestrate both the cover-up and my arrest. Then Eric ended up dead. The question became, who silenced him first? The final day of trial felt less like a courtroom and more like a public execution. Journalists packed every seat. Outside, protesters screamed my name. Some wanted justice. Others wanted blood. The prosecution delivered one last emotional argument, calling me a manipulative fraud willing to kill for survival. Then Jonas stood. For nearly 4 hours, he dismantled the entire case piece by piece. He exposed altered footage, forged financial evidence, corrupt investigators, witness intimidation, secret payments, and finally, he revealed a recording. Nobody expected it, not even me. Weeks earlier, Jonas had interviewed a retired dock supervisor connected to Nord's Transit. The man secretly recorded a conversation with Henrik Falk months before Eric's death. In the audio, Henrik said, "If she becomes a problem, we pin it on her before Eric talks." The courtroom erupted. One juror began crying. The judge called for order 3 separate times. And for the first time since my arrest, I felt something dangerous return to my chest. Hope. I was acquitted 9 hours later. Not guilty on all charges. But freedom didn't feel triumphant. It felt hollow. Because by then, 3 people were dead. One investigator vanished before he could be arrested. Nord's Transit collapsed under international investigations. Multiple executives disappeared. And Henrik Falk? He was found in his apartment 2 weeks later with a gunshot wound to the head. Official ruling: suicide. To this day, many people in Denmark don't believe it. Neither do I. People always ask what the worst part was. The prison cell? The headlines? The fear of dying behind bars for something I didn't do? No. The worst part was discovering how quickly the world accepts a lie once it sounds believable enough. One manipulated video. one corrupted investigator, one dead executive. That was all it took to turn me from an ordinary woman into a monster in the public eye. And even after the acquittal, strangers still stare at me sometimes, like they aren't fully convinced. Maybe they never will be. But every now and then, I think about Jonas Mikkelsen standing in that courtroom, refusing to let buried secrets stay buried. And I remember something he told me after the verdict. The truth doesn't win because it's powerful, he said. It wins because eventually, too many lies start colliding with each other. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more gripping true crime stories, shocking investigations, and courtroom mysteries. Your support helps us bring you more incredible cases every week. What do you think? Was Frege a target from the very beginning, or did the conspiracy spiral out of control after murder? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We read every comment, so drop yours and join the discussion.